Market Town Council work session for Tuesday, May 27th, 2025. Roll call, please.
Mello,
Present.
Thurston,
Here.
Gallagher,
Here.
Hager,
Here.
Ramirez,
Here.
Baker,
Here.
Vianney.
Here.
If you could join me with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. So I would like to introduce, we have Terry Flight, President-elect, and Carl Davis, President from the Haymarket Kiwanis Club, to give us a presentation on the proposal of the Little Free Lending Library. Emily, can you give us an update first, please? Okay. Oh, perfect. That's fine.
You guys want to go ahead and go on up? And if you just hit the button on the microphone right on the front center, it will turn on. Oh, the microphone.
Microphone.
On? Okay. Now we've got this. Kim, were you going to make it?
Yes.
It's good.
Okay. Council persons, Mayor Patter, guest, staff, Terry Flight with the Haymarket Gainesville Kiwanis Club, and this is Carl, as you were introduced to, Carl Davis. And we wrote a letter to Joe Passanello, and we had previously met with Mayor Patter about what can we do for Haymarket, aligning with our Kiwanis causes. Big Al is one of our members of the Kiwanis Club too. In fact, he's a dual member. He's also a member in Winchester. Yeah. Where's your? I know I started there. I know that's not right. You know what I mean? You always think that. I don't know. Oh, no, that's not it.
Okay, that's working. Well, Kim, can you tab it over for us?
Okay.
From current slide.
Put it in presentation mode, please.
Hit
The clicker is.
Oh,
okay.
The dais.
The clicker is the fun. I think if you hit slideshow up there, over further, come down.
Over.
Yeah, from the beginning might work too. Yeah. Next.
If you hit it down, now you.
Oh, it works now? And I want to point.
There you go.
There we go.
Now you jump.
Okay. Sorry for where am I pointing to exactly, Kim? You're going to do it? Okay. The screen, I can do it towards the screen.
I got it.
Okay, all right. Just briefly, Kiwanis, if you don't know, is one of the 3 global organizations that the largest service clubs, Kiwanis, Rotary, Lions, you may or may not know about them. It was established in 1915. There's just a few key Kiwanis by the numbers. If you want to see how many clubs we have, we're in 83 nations around the world. You want me to try this again? Oh, okay, great. Our club, Kiwanis of Haymarket Gainesville, we just started 2.5 little bitty years ago. Al's club has been in Winchester over 100 years. The Manassas Club has been around for 101 years, and the Woodbridge Club has been here for 78 years. So we've had a lot of years to impact the community. We're just starting, and we want to start with Haymarket. We meet once a month. One thing I want to point out to you is the Kiwanis causes. Our focus is on health and nutrition, mostly pretty much around children and families, health and nutrition, education and literacy, and youth leadership development. Here's our club, just at a glance. We sponsor the Gainesville Key Club. We sponsor the Patriot High School Key Club. We sponsor Cub Scout Pack 107, Scout Troop 1882. We do boxes of basics. We pack snack packs for families living at Northern Virginia Family Shelter. We do a few other little things too. We help the police department on Haymarket Day and a few things like that. 2.5 years old, we're growing and getting there. Here's just our club in action. So we have boxes of basics, which help kids with their self-esteem, mental health. We have the food missions there that we do. And we think that, the Key Clubs teach about leadership. We're ready to go into the education and literacy part of our 3 little missions there. And we spoke to you guys in the letter about starting a Little Free Library. This is from the Little Free Library site. They have 200,000 plus libraries. They're in 128 countries, and they have, so far, I guess, 400 million books that have been shared. The concept is take a book, share a book. By the way, there is a whole network of Little Free Library. You download an app. See there on the bottom, you download an app. So parents going different places, they might go, hey, so let's see whatever other ones are around in the area, that kind of thing. It's pretty cool. You get little placards to put on there and such. Little Free Library has teamed up with Kiwanis International. It's one of our projects that is easy to do. Every community likes it. We get some discounts there, and you know, nobody's reinventing the wheel. Here's a picture of the Kiwanis Club in central Indiana with their Little Free Library that they built. Here are a few library designs. Oh, we're talking about, pardon me, Emily and I were talking, putting it in the park. The park down here with the playground. Okay. Here are a few library designs that we can put in there. We are specifically talking about, oh, that one on the left, by the way, actually on the right too. That's one in Warrenton. I happen to live in Warrenton. Carl lives in Haymarket. That one is 2 books deep. You can see the 2 books deep. So we are talking about something that's 2 books deep, you know, this wide, that kind of thing. So we don't run out of books. We don't have to service it that much. We get a greater selection. 2 levels high, 2 books deep is our concept right now. Here's plans that we can get for building one of these. We also can get kits. We haven't determined yet if we're going to do a kit or, you know, build it by plan. So the Kiwanis motto, and Al will remember, used to be we build. 2005, it changed to serving the children of the world. Some of us old people still remember we build. Well, we do not build, okay? However, our our Scout Troop 1882 that we sponsor has agreed to do the building for us. We haven't gotten into the specifics yet, but so it will be built and also possibly be an Eagle Scout project. They will have to modify some of the plans that we've looked at to make sure it's as deep as we want it and that kind of thing. We're also talking about using construction materials, PVC, et cetera, not plywood or something cheap and, you know, that requires a lot of maintenance. Here is our Scout Troop 1882, their Facebook page. Che Rogers is the fellow on the far left. He is the troop scout leader. Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah. That's my son in the middle holding the flag.
Oh, is
with
it?
the
Okay. All right. There you go. Anyway.
I'm actually the founder of Troop 1882.
Oh, are you?
I stepped
Okay.
down a couple of years back, but yes. So
Okay.
thank you for taking them on.
Okay, well, so far
I'm
we
in that
love
picture
them.
too. I see.
We went to the, blue and gold ceremony. That was the Cub Scout troop, Pack 107.
Yep.
But, some of those fellows were here too to go over the bridge to the scout level.
I'm gonna have them take my picture down off that as well.
Okay. Anyway, our club, we will fund, the Kiwanis Club, we will fund the building of the library, and we will monitor it as an ongoing service project and providing and regularly replenishing the books. So we'll provide the books, we'll have schedules from our members, we'll go and check, make sure they're always, set up, and we have a good selection from other Kiwanis clubs who do this as a service project. They say, it says free lending library, take one, leave one, but mostly they take one. We're like, okay, we're prepared for that. That is our presentation, and we'd like to get permission from you all to go ahead and start on that. We don't know what the next steps are. Carl and I have eyeballed the park over there and think possibly right before you get to where the playground equipment is, there's the bulletin board. Right to the left of that might be a good spot. We also discussed color schemes to be the green and the browns and the tans of the park, if that's something that you all would like.
Does anybody have any questions? Go ahead, Mary.
Thank you so much for coming to speak and share this. My day job is literacy with children, so
Okay,
this
great.
is wonderful. I love the idea of getting books into any child's hands. I think the location at the park sounds lovely. I definitely see a lot of families just coming to enjoy the park and also enjoying a book. Maybe they don't take it home, but they can put it back, kind of like a little visit. For the service project, were you like the service project in terms of replenishing the books and things like that? Are you viewing it as an opportunity within Kiwanis, or would you solicit the community? What was your idea for that?
We were looking at it as a Kiwanis service project. Is that correct, Carl?
Okay, so it would be managed internally by you guys.
That's correct. That's correct. I know in some other communities, some of these have been started and just neglected. I don't know who was in charge or who wasn't in charge. I really don't know that part.
Right.
I know some communities where the Kiwanis have them, they're active. I've spoken to a couple of those Kiwanis leaders. I know also Leesburg, the Leesburg Kiwanis Club during COVID, because you couldn't touch people or meet, they went around and found the deserted little libraries, and they started just filling the little libraries. I mean, that was they didn't build it or anything. They just started doing that.
So if there were any maintenance required if there was any damage to it due to like a storm or what have you, would Kiwanis also be taking that on?
That would be a good question. What would you say, Carl?
I think we would.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not a difficult,
Okay.
I guess somebody could even go and, vandalize it, and it still should be under $400.
Okay.
I think with the premium materials that we're talking about and a little extra deep, et cetera, we might be running $500 or so dollars.
Okay.
We haven't estimated. I would like to mention that in terms of installing the little library, what we've seen is a nice base, and they give you all the plans for it, with probably a 6x6, I'm going to think, pressure treated, and that's how it's installed in concrete. Our preference would be that a qualified Haymarket employee would install that to make sure that it's done safely and to your standards, and eliminate any liability issues. We all want that done right. We don't want the Boy Scouts installing it. I mean, if we had to find somebody else, we would, and they would be a Class A contractor. We're a volunteer organization, so we'd want to have a volunteer Class A contractor. But
Well, I I can speak for me. I think I'd be comfortable with staff working that out with you, those details. I think that would be appropriate. But I really do love this idea. I think the park is a wonderful place. So thank you for presenting this.
Certainly. Let me tell you about the time frame. We approached the scout leader, Shay Rogers, a little bit ago, and of course, their schedule is already full for the summer and doesn't include building anything, includes camping and all those other things. So we anticipate that it would be sometime mid-late fall if we started on this, that it could be completed. And that it is, again, subject to how quickly we move along and when their availability is.
Does anybody else have any questions, comments? Yes.
I was going to ask Emily what her thoughts are on the matter. Where location, and didn't we used to have one? Ken and I were just talking. Did we used to have one over by the museum at one time?
It's still there.
Still there? No.
Yep, so we have a small one over by the museum, and it does get utilized. I do see a lot of people from our hotel kind of pop over there, and while they're walking their dog or they have little ones, they kind of see it from the parking lot and pop over. So I was speaking with Terry before the meeting. I think this will be a nice location to have it at the park. We have so many kids play there year round, but specifically during our summers and when they're off from school. So I think this will be a great location for it. We also have a very big community that comes out during the midday, the littles who come with their moms, and they have little picnics in the park. So hopefully some younger kid books as well. As for the placement, I think it's great to put it there by the bulletin board. If Matt is the one who installs it, I think that's, completely doable. And then that also helps us be able to know down the line that we can easily move it to a different location when the park is built out, still keeping it in the park area, but maybe it might need to move 20 feet, one way or the other. So I think all around, it's a great idea. I'm excited for us to, have another one. And I hope that council goes ahead and gives the directive for them to work on it. I do think keeping in the color scheme that you mentioned is perfectly fine. I do not see a need for this to go to the ARB. That's excessive. We did that once before because it was on the museum property. But I think if you keep the color scheme that we have up there, you'll be good to go.
Yeah, I think this falls under administrative approval.
Yes.
So
Anything else?
we have a built-in clientele right there for you.
Yeah.
At the park.
Okay, we do. And this is, it's almost like you go to the store and there's things on the checkout counter. You're like, ooh, I need one of those. Ooh, I need some of that gum, So these little libraries are a little bit like an impulse buy where you're at the spot and you're, ooh, let's go there. Doesn't mean you're not going to make a special trip to drive to that little library case and get a book, but you're going to remember it when you go to the park. So we do, Emily, have to put it where people are going to see it.
Yes, and let us know when it all gets installed. We have a Haymarket book here we can put in it, and we are working on our first Town of Haymarket coloring book, and we'd love to put
Oh,
some in there
okay.
as well. So.
Keep in mind, they may not come back.
That's okay. They don't have to come back, but maybe
We've been
it's,
told.
maybe it's another goodie that somebody can take and enjoy.
Okay, great. That's good.
I was going to say, I love how it lends itself to the different personalities of a family, right? So you have siblings who come out, you've got a sibling who's very active, and then you've got one that's maybe more quiet, and being able to pick a book while the other is playing and sit and read is really nice.
I know I would have loved this when I grew up. I grew up overseas in the library at the church who spoke English. You could take 3 books out a week. My 3 books were read by Wednesday, and I was rereading them. I was such an avid reader, and I have to say, I think it did a whole lot for my education. Yeah,
Absolutely.
to start early.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? No? All right, so
Anything to
directive
add,
to
Carl?
work with staff.
No?
Right.
So what is our next step?
So we'll send a directive for staff to work with you and
Okay.
move to the next step.
Excellent. Thank you so
All right,
much.
thank you. Okay. So next, I would like to introduce Siobhan Dosky from Greystone Companies to discuss with us the concepts for 14600 Washington Street. Emily, would you
Yes,
start
thank
us off,
you.
please?
So Mayor and Council, as many of you are aware, Siobhan and his team reached out to you as well as myself and other staff members to discuss the possibility of a development occurring at the 14600 Washington Street property. So I met with him twice and we had great conversations about what could go on this property, what it could look like with possible residential units, how this would impact the neighborhood and the local community. We talked through a lot of different scenarios, and ultimately what we found would be most productive is to have him come in front of the council tonight for a work session discussion and get feedback from the council. So sharing input of what you envision in this area of the town, sharing concerns that you may have for the neighboring developments, the proximity to the town park, the proximity to the other, the county line is right there, proximity to the other neighborhoods on the other side of it. So talking through those different elements of it and just really hearing what council could provide in a productive manner. So if you have questions of the applicant, if they have questions, ask you. I understand not all questions can be answered, but please feel free to ask them and state. So I will turn it over to you guys to introduce yourselves and kick it off.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I am Kirk Johnson. This is Siobhan Dosky. We're partners in Greystone Companies, which is based in Haymarket in the county. Greystone got started as a different company in 2006, and we've done most of our development in the Blacksburg area. We've done a lot of student housing. We've done some mixed-use hotel and retail as well. But Siobhan lives here. I live down in Christiansburg, and we have this property under contract, and we've done a number of rezonings in our career, and we like to start with meeting with town council and planning commission and just finding out what you guys would like to see, and that. We reached out individually and then met with the vice mayor and the mayor, and the vice mayor suggested that a public meeting might be the best way to get some feedback before we went forward with any kind of application. But I'll let
So
Siobhan.
the plans that we've got, they're not real plans. I mean, the idea here was it was felt we'd get better feedback, if we showed something. So we've got kind of two orientations, just to really solicit feedback from you on what you like and don't like. I don't know if we can get that any larger. If not, I actually have some paper ones that we can pass around if it'll be clearer. Kirk gave you a little bit of info about Greystone, but also I live in Haymarket, not in the town of Haymarket, but I've lived here since '98, right behind Pevs, if you know, out on 15 behind Pevs. Back when there was no Dominion Valley, none of that stuff was here. At first, when we were approached about this property, my neighbor that lives behind me knows somebody involved in the project there on this property. And so he'd approached me about that they might be interested in talking to us. They had seen some of the stuff that we had done. And so they approached us about the hotels that we've done in the retail. And when we, I know the area, so when we looked at this, we're like, it really doesn't, it's surrounded on four sides by residential. It didn't seem like a good fit for, 3, 4, 5-story hotel and a bunch of high density. So really what we're talking about is a downzoning of the current property. Because it's B1 is the zoning today. So it's really a downzoning of it. And it's a little bit more complicated because I don't think there's a mixed use that we could find in the town. So we're looking at it as kind of a mixed use project, even though it's really going to be two different zonings, essentially. The part that's the commercial part and the part that's the residential. But we're trying to incorporate them and blend them in ways that you would do that in a mixed use development. As I said, so there are two plans. This one is referred to as a parallel plan. And it's basically that these line up with Blight and the sections are parallel to it. And these are townhouses. So what you're looking at are townhouses laid out on a site. And as I said, this is, just conceptual to get feedback. So this one is referred to as parallel. We have another one that we'll go to, but I wanted to just show you them and then try to get your feedback on what you like and dislike about the project so that it'll help us formulate an actual plan. Is that large enough for you to see, or would you prefer paper?
Paper.
I would like the paper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, may we ask questions throughout or best to wait
You-
until the
You
end?
can ask.
Why don't we ask throughout? Have
Okay.
a organic conversation.
So there's a lot there.
So Mary has a question.
And 2 pages.
Thank you, Mayor. So looking at the townhomes, are those driveways? Is it gonna have like their own personal driveway with the townhome? Is that the idea? Okay.
So to clarify, Siobhan, if I may ask, so the center one, that's gonna act as an alleyway similar to Crossroads Village, is that correct? Where they access driveways from an alley?
Yeah, so here, you mean? Like
Yes,
that, for instance?
yes. Does that help, Mary? So your
Yes, thank you.
fronts of them, how they're shown right now, the front wash, Blight Drive and the Blight Drive homes, and then those other fronts front the commercial.
Yes, thank you.
Is it just parallel and perpendicular?
That's all. right.
Okay,
So
just making sure.
every wrong thing is one set.
Gotcha.
Were we able to establish the parking spaces requirement when there is a driveway? Does the driveway count?
We did not
Towards that.
clarify that yet.
Okay.
But we will take care of that. Do you want to speak since you and I talked about it,
Yeah.
why don't you speak a little on the cookies and cream structure and the existing commercial structure? Because it does look like you made some modifications, right?
So if you're looking here, in the current building, it continues to here, something like that. That's been the hardest part for them to either lease up or keep leased up. So that part of the building would be taken down. That was the 4th section that was built, was the last section. And it actually was taken down in the form that it was put up. Meaning, if you look at the original one, it went like that, and that other one was kind of added to fill in. So that was taken out, and then the cookies and cream was relocated from about there to here,
To the front.
to the front.
No, and that's basically just a possibility. We had heard there's some historical significance to that home, or that building, and that if we wanted to preserve it, that we would need to move it on the site, but keep it on the site.
You want me to speak a little bit about the parking?
Yes.
Does that help? So on the parking, what we wanted to do is make sure that the commercial space is successful. So we're taking out, if you remember, that field of parking over here. And right now, even the current configuration of parking is one-sided. It's primarily on the one side. And yet, like all these units access from here. So the idea here was to provide, a nice flow and ample parking for all the businesses to be successful. And some of this design was partly in the discussion about to have extra parking for the residential as well. As Kurt mentioned, we've done some projects with retail and hotels, and we're very active about like studies on it. And so we did a study on that, and it's worked out really well, where the hotel and the retail work very well together. You would expect that there's going to be some synergy here between some of this parking that, if somebody's staying overnight here and they want to park, they can park over there, because by the time, there'll either be extra spaces or at the times we'll allow it. And that way you're not just a sea of parking, you don't end up with just, massive areas of parking that are unutilized.
Otherwise-
Questions? Oh, go ahead.
Otherwise, I'm assuming they will be forced to park residential streets or streets on Blight and other places if there aren't enough parking.
That could happen, but all these will have garages.
Okay.
So they'll have garages and they'll have a driveway. So they should have ample parking, but
Yeah.
the idea was to provide enough parking
Yeah.
that they don't need to park on these streets and they don't park off-site.
Yeah, a lot of people utilize their garages for something else, for storage,
Absolutely.
not parking, right? In terms of ingress and egress, it looks like the primary entrance and exit points are off of Blight. Is that correct?
Both. There's one here.
It looks like that's both shared between the business and the residential, right?
Looks dual lane.
But it looks kind of narrow in comparison
It's
to,
what it is today. What we
It is.
didn't want to do was, alter that, and we're really looking for feedback. So we
Okay.
left it as it is today, which is one way in, one way out.
Okay.
But we're really looking for everybody's feedback on, does that seem, I know
And-
what you
Go ahead.
mentioned.
Yes, I'll mention to council so they know. So council, when I met with them and we had a discussion, I took some of my knowledge of VDOT reviews that I've done on different site plans through the years here in the town. And one of the comments and feedback that we had received is VDOT likes when things match up. So I had mentioned if you're going to have another entry exit point off of Blight, which VDOT also likes more than one on a big site like this, it needed to line up with Dogwood Park Drive. So that's there where I said, we really would want to go ahead to VDOT and have something lining up for a formal intersection. This would most likely end up being a three-way stop, and then as you enter, they probably would not stop. But again, VDOT, they're going to make that decision. As for the current entry exit point, some feedback I shared, if you guys look closely, and I know you're very familiar with the satellite imagery and how it exists today, the exit point is right beside the entry exit of that other neighboring property right there. And VDOT does not always like to have these conflicts close to one another on their right of way. And so my suggestion, coming from the town perspective, would see the main entry exit point be put together so that you have, a formal entry exit together in one location off of Washington Street. I would be hopeful that maybe we could work to get that figured out with the developer and VDOT.
Joe has a
So-
question.
You okay?
kind of suggestion, right?
Yeah.
To be upfront with you, I live in the Villages Haymarket, right?
Uh-huh.
Blight Drive, as you know, is the only exit entrance, right?
Yep.
So the potential challenge that I foresee with this is especially trying to access Washington, especially making a left turn,
Mhm.
right? If you were to introduce all the traffic that's going to be generated from such a development, it's going to result in challenges for me, for other residents, right? So is it possible to make changes to Blight Drive to where there could be, basically to widen it, so that there could be a dedicated left and right turn so that people are not get stuck behind vehicles trying to make a left turn onto Washington?
It's certainly something we can look at. I know just from the density of the project, that it's a relatively, I think the density right now is 8 per acre. It's going to be, I would think that might be challenging from a cost standpoint, but certainly we could absolutely look at it.
And
You're asking about.
Right
left-
there,
Yeah,
left,
turn lane.
yes, widening
Yeah.
so that you have a left and right turns,
Sure.
right,
Yeah, we can certainly look. at
onto
it.
Washington, not so much into, entering the community, right, but exiting.
Understand.
Right? Because at times, depending on the level of volume of traffic
Right.
on Washington Street, it is challenging, especially making a left turn,
Sure.
right? As is, right?
Mhm.
And I think you've also made them aware of the additional 11 townhomes, right, that have already
I
approved.
did,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And
So,
Alexander, that might be a further discussion that we would need to sit down, probably like the town and the developer with VDOT,
mhm.
since Blight Drive is a VDOT maintained road. And I don't know at what point they trigger certain road mitigation, whether it be signals, things like that, if they have left turn only and right turn only.
Yeah, but it's not about triggering. It's not about what the requirements dictate, right? That's about what is going to be realistic for the individual people that are living in those communities, right? As I indicated, as it is right now, at times, it's challenging, right?
Sure.
By the time you introduce additional traffic on that street, right? We would like to avoid such
Understand.
situations, but that's the feedback, right?
Yeah.
Joe, if I might ask one more question, if you don't mind, how many units are we total?
The density is 8 per acre.
Okay,
So the two plans have different numbers on
okay,
them. We're really just looking at 8 per acre. So right now, this one, I don't know the exact number, but it's probably somewhere in the 50s. You know,
Okay.
somewhere between 50 and 60 units.
58, 62.
58.
62 is fine.
50,
Okay.
62,
I'm
okay.
not sure if this one might be the 62 or.
58 for parallel.
I count 58 on parallel and 62 on perpendicular.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Joe, you had a question?
Oh, I have a couple.
Okay.
First of all, Sean, thank you. Nice to meet you, Kirk.
Thank you.
You want feedback?
Absolutely.
I'm going to give you my feedback.
Okay.
Okay. I have some concerns about the density. I think it's very dense at 8 per acre. It's probably maybe even closer to 9, depending on what you do. That's a big concern because of the traffic impacts. That's a major consideration. We just got finished working on an SUP for that property. You are aware, you know, the site plan and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm not sure where you are in the process. Is this something that you're doing? Is this a feasibility? What's happening?
Is this something that we're doing?
Yeah, that you
We
really,
have the property under contract.
okay,
And we're really looking, none of these plans, as I said, are actual plans that we're submitting.
okay.
Really just to solicit feedback. And that's some of the feedback, like, hey, it's too dense.
Yeah.
So that's some of the feedback we're looking for.
Yeah, because that'll drive traffic issues.
Yeah.
And we have, at least I have some major concerns about the traffic in town. Peak periods are really bad. You know, there's some times when it's not that bad, but a traffic study is, without question, has to be done,
Absolutely.
regardless, in order to do this. So the other issue for me is open space. We have an 85% right now that you can build on. To me, that's not enough space for people. It's going to be like a culture shock, for lack of a better term, for a lot of people. That we've had those ball fields there for as long as I've been here, decades and decades and decades. And, you know, they were great and people were using them. And it seems to me, yeah, while we have a park, you know, contiguous to that on the other side of the street, it would be nice to have more open space because it seems like we're losing all kinds of open space. That's a real big issue for me. So traffic, open space, and the density, I mean, right off the bat. So have you thought about other kinds of designs, something a little bit nicer perhaps than just a townhome that they built over there for the, you know, the 55 and older community, just east of where you're talking about?
Yeah. I'm not sure what the question is there.
Well, I mean, is this the only concept you're thinking of? And I understand return on investment is critical to developers. But are there other options and other kinds of construction that you might want to do in there?
Besides townhouse?
Yeah.
I mean, this is my personal opinion is, I don't think there's anything else that would work. Like single family homes are not gonna, there's just not gonna be enough density to cover the cost of the land and the property. So I don't think single family would work. I think that, I mean, that's really the truth is, you know, originally we were thinking, you'd have more green space, but they'd probably be 2/2s. And I don't think 2/2s are allowed. So
Yeah.
that would kind of went out. That would have provided more green space. I do, and I get it's a huge shock because it is empty field. And,
Right.
you know, that's a common thing for us is that we go in and it's an empty field. It's nobody can think of anything better than an empty field generally.
Right.
Especially
with all the development going on with the data centers, right?
Yeah. But I do believe, you know, from the projects that we've done that are commercial, that this is a substantially lower traffic count than you would get out of any B1 that gets built here. And not to negate what you're saying at all, but I mean, I do feel like, but I do understand that because it's residential and that's residential, they will have probably more overlap. I mean, as far as the traffic, we'll have more of an overlap.
So
So-
if I understand what you're saying is you're leaning more towards residential than commercial because you're saying commercial would create more problems with traffic than the residential.
Absolutely.
That's what you're
And
saying.
I just don't think, in our experiences, it's just, you got residential on four sides. I mean, if this wasn't historic and already there,
Mhm.
it wouldn't go here. Right? You wouldn't go build it here, but it's there. So in reality, you've got residential, 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 residential. So you would never approve for us, if that were residential zoning.
Right.
Us to come in and say, okay, can we do a D1 development here? I would think everybody would say, no, that's the wrong spot for it. And that's kind of how we're looking at it, as it's not the right spot for it.
I will say, on the positive side, I like the green space to the front of the street myself.
Right.
You know, I think that's a nice transition that you propose. But getting back to the by right uses, have you examined all the by right uses that you could make use of on this property rather than doing the mixed commercial and residential?
Meaning commercial?
Yeah.
You mean like hotels and?
Whatever, yeah,
retail?
whatever.
We've looked at it briefly, because we just didn't feel like it was a fit where it's sitting. But, you know, we certainly will welcome the feedback if that's something that you think is a better fit.
Well, okay.
We can
I'll
certainly
just
do
leave it at that for now.
Absolutely.
I mean, appreciate your comments, but again, I think it's too high density. I think you're gonna have to take a look at that from my
Thank you.
perspective.
Absolutely.
Traffic, major issue. What can we do? You know, sidewalks, things of that nature, and open space. That's where I'm coming from.
Great.
So I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Alexander?
And I would need feedback from the staff as well, Emily. One concern I have is if QBE, the current commercial building, maintains the uses, the existing uses, it looks like what is shown here, they'll be basically losing parking spaces, right? At least that's what it looks like. And if that's the case, I think that's going to be a challenge, right?
I would have to get with them and count how many parking spaces that they're showing here, and then I'd have to look at the tally of what businesses would be staying in their square footage. But keep in mind, they are removing 4 tenant spaces off the back, so that removes that need for parking there. As for a mixed property, though, the types of uses that you have in there would be of great benefit to a residential neighborhood going on the property, with the dance studio, jujitsu.
I mean, at times, based on the current uses that exist currently, right? There isn't even enough parking space as is right now. And people are having to park on the grass and so forth, right?
Okay.
You mean currently?
Currently,
Okay.
right? So,
So I want to tell you honestly, now, I don't know if you may have, but I didn't count spaces.
Yeah.
I mean, the reality is this is a concept plan that we're not building. So we would not go, my first thing was, we want to make sure they're successful. We certainly don't want people to be parking out on light or anywhere else. So the idea here, I know that we did take what was in there and looked at how many spaces they need, but just generally, like not to say, make sure we have, no, we would in any plan submitted conform to requirements.
Okay.
You know, it's just that we wanted to just lay something out for this meeting. It was literally in 4 days. Both these plans got done in like 4 or 5 days.
yeah. So the question is, if at the end of the day, if you move forward with this plan, if there aren't enough parking spaces to accommodate the current uses or future uses, then what, right? That's
We
something
wouldn't
that
move forward with a
yeah,
plan that does not fit,
Yeah.
that does not provide enough parking.
okay.
And I know that, I'm guessing that people come in here and may have said what I have said, but I'm being honest with you.
No.
This is not a real plan. This is a plan that was 2 plans put together in 5 days. It's not a plan. So this was really to provide you all with something to look at, so you can say what you just said.
Yeah.
Want to make sure you have enough parking.
Mhm.
We'll make sure that we have enough parking. You know, the green space, the traffic. You know, one of the things is, we left this the way it is. If people feel like it should be different, if they feel like, well, what about other connectivity to other parts of the site, which you mentioned in our
That's what my
meetings.
question was.
So, I mean, those are the things we're really looking for. I'm looking for all the feedback. So But I'm not trying to minimize it, but I just want you to know, this was really just, let's put something in front of you and get your feedback. But we truly are not submitting these. There's not one of these two that we like, that we're like, oh my God, this is really it. Don't pick this one. It's really just to show you two different ideas and
Yeah,
what do you think?
You want to elicit our feedback, right, basically. Okay, all right.
May I real
Go ahead,
quick?
no,
Thank
please.
you.
You're the-
So,
You're the
no,
boss.
and just a little sidebar, the perpendicular concept
Yes. I mean,
is only because when I visit townhomes where the front of the house is on like a major road, guests are gonna come, they're gonna park on that road regardless, because that's where the front door is. So that would be my pushback in regards to the parallel floor plan. And then you had mentioned, that was gonna be my second thing, open to connectivity on the other end
right.
to help with traffic flow. So that would be my thought process, Joe.
Yes, no, good points. Getting back to the density issue,
Yes.
when you put this concept together, and I'm sure you haven't done any takeoffs or anything like that, what kind of sizes are we talking about these units to be?
That part's real. So
So
that's
how,
the one thing I'll tell you. You mean the size of the unit?
yeah,
It's a 24 by 45.
24 wide by 45 deep?
Yes, sir.
And how many floors is that?
And we did that. It was real because we wanted to make sure what would fit. I mean, in what we're drawing, what fits. So, I'm sorry,
And you're talking what, 3 floors?
3 stories.
3 stories, right. I think, what's our height restriction? Is it 35 or?
35.
Yeah. Gain a couple extra feet, depending on how far you set it back from a setback, so you can get up to 40 feet.
Okay. Thank
The
you.
height's not real. We
Yeah,
just
okay, all right.
just did the width and depth. Yeah.
One of the things that we asked before,
On some plans like this
Thank you.
is there going to be a play space, in that open space for young families? Is there going to be any kind of little amenity that's come up before in our discussions? We've also discussed ensuring that the sidewalk would be there on Washington Street, and then ideally, having that sidewalk connection on Blight Drive.
So Emily, can I answer that?
Yes, please.
So
Mhm.
one of the things that we did was, it's one of the things I personally, like, we're giving our opinions of these two, is that's one of the things I like more about the perpendicular, was we took it off of the road and put that here. And I know that the town may feel differently because it's, puts the units on the road more. But we felt like that was safer. Like this would allow kids to be out there and playing. It would allow people here to potentially use it as well and not have them running, onto a road. So that was one of the reasons we laid it out differently, was just to get the feedback on, do you like it on the road? Do you prefer it more enclosed where it's a little more protected?
in the cookies and cream space, just, we've all visited the business. People love to play outside and go get their ice cream. So I think, it's a nice feature to keep it and keep it up front and have it kind of almost be a new logo of the space. But maybe if there's a way to also still ensure some safety, whether it's a nice looking fence just along Washington.
Sure.
But keep that in mind. That is a very popular business for people
Gotcha.
to play and enjoy.
And sit outside, yeah.
Yeah.
So is that allowed? Would something like that be allowed?
The
I think
fence,
when it comes to safety, we could talk about a stylish fence.
Okay.
Maybe a hedgerow.
yeah, I was gonna say,
Or some
some
places or something,
boundary.
that just provides a layer of safety there. I'm not
Yeah.
saying like the battlefield style fence, but there's historic style fences.
Yeah, maybe like you just said about, my only worry about hedges is that somebody could pop through it and it'd be more, it'd be dangerous, but maybe hedges with a fence, so that hedges on the side of the road so you don't see the fence as much. And then, if it's for kids, you don't need more than, a relatively short fence to keep them safe. So that might be a nice combo, along here or whatever to enclose it. I like that. That's good.
Justin, you had a question?
Yeah. this is hard for me to see because I live right across the street. So to see open space to go to townhomes looking at, it's gonna be hard, but yeah, if you could keep the open space concept, that would be huge, but is there any way, because there's a bunch of townhomes on all four sides, that they could have multiple, even, I know you have 2 entry and exit points, is there any other way to make maybe one off of, I was looking here, off of not Blight, but the other community? Could you come off of the neighborhood behind it?
That's where I was thinking.
Yeah,
Is that what you're at?
yeah, or,
Yeah, and I don't know that we landed on, did we ever land on what was allowed there? Like, we definitely had spoken at our meetings about the possibility, but we had not landed on legally. You know, a lot of times when they do things like that, there's a requirement that, hey, the neighbor can connect. So if that's the case, it would be very helpful.
yeah, okay.
Well, the interesting thing is that that's Prince William County on the
Yeah,
other
that's
side of the line.
Right.
It's a county line. so,
Yeah,
Right.
you know that, okay.
Could be complicated.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no,
But if
and
it goes all the way to the actual line, and if that was thought of when they did it, and it was like, you know, written in it, I know we've had it where in development we've done, there's nothing there, but they want a road, and they want you to give them an easement that should they develop it, they'll be able to. So as long as that's there, it's a possibility. The nice thing about this is it continues.
Yeah.
It continues to the next
That's awesome.
one and then brings you to the circle.
That's right.
So it's really, would be incredible. I think it would be great if that was an option. We just don't know yet if that's an option.
and thank you for bringing all this stuff up and putting 4 days. That's crazy to put all this stuff together. Last question is,
Well,
hey,
John did it.
what's the timeline? Do you have a timeline on this, or
You mean as far as to submit?
yeah, to submit or
We'd
just
like
move
to submit the
forward?
next few months.
Okay,
In the next 2 to 3 months, we'd like to submit, maybe less.
okay. Well, it's huge for you guys coming out and doing that. That's huge. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
We really do appreciate you all meeting with us. I know this is probably different than normal.
No, this is actually a good idea. This is a great exercise. I
Go
just
ahead.
had 2 more points that I wanted to go back to. When I mentioned sidewalk,
Yes, sir.
I'm not, maybe I should clarify that because we have a program in town along Washington Street
Mhm.
called the Streetscape. So that's going to require that section being
All
done.
along here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
so you're aware of
Yeah,
that.
Emily's done a phenomenal job of
Okay,
educating us on those.
so that might push you back a little bit. I don't know.
Yes. Well,
I think the way you actually have it shown, I think you have the space there.
Yeah, there's like some
Sidewalk
green
or-
space that's not accounted for.
I think John incorporated it. If you look at it, it kind of lines up right here. But if
Okay,
it doesn't, again, if
yeah,
it doesn't,
you'll have to,
we would definitely have,
you'll have to think about that.
absolutely.
Um,
And it's beautiful. You go through the town, it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
yeah, we just finished the one in front
Right.
of the park.
Yeah, it's really nice.
All right, so another important aspect, at least for me, is the fire marshal. You know, you'll have to deal with a lot of outside agencies and, you know, VDOT and, but before I get to the fire marshal, we were just talking about it recently about some of the new units that are being built. Are these going to be all electric? Or are you looking to utilize gas? What's the concept for that? Any ideas?
I haven't gotten that far.
I haven't gotten that
honestly.
far. I mean, in some of the,
Is gas right around here?
oh yeah, we have Columbia Gas
Okay.
and things like that, but I was just curious, you know.
Yeah, I think a lot of times I have gas at home. I have propane.
Yeah.
I live where they don't have pipes, but, you know, I think it's great. I mean, my dryer, our clothes dryer is it.
Right.
Everything's, our furnace is it. So I really like it. I think it's incredibly efficient.
That's just my.
But yeah, I mean, if
question.
it's right there on the road and it's available, I think I think a lot of people might prefer it.
Okay. As I was saying, the fire marshal for me would be a very important consideration for emergency response and what have you. I know we've had a couple of SUPs recently and there's been some current concerns raised about that. So with this kind of density, I'm not sure where he would stand with that, but
Yeah.
you know, certainly would have to consult with him on that. So Yeah, streetscape, fire marshal. I had one more thing. I may have to come back to you on that.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Matt had some questions.
Yeah, just a comment. I mean, I won't repeat what's already been said. I think, yeah, I conveyed this to you in the meeting as well when we met one-on-one, but it's, the green space is important. You know, the traffic concerns are always something we consider. Just as you're building this out and designing this further, you know, in addition to the input that you've gotten, there is a reality that the tenants up there currently, you have a couple of restaurants up there that are frequented by people like DoorDash, Uber Eats, et cetera. And, you know, they do come in. When I'm looking at this plan, I am concerned about having dedicated parking for them, you know, kind of like the in-out thing. And in particular at the Cookies and Cream location, which does serve as Ghosted Concepts as well, which does have a very heavy use of Uber, DoorDash, and vehicle traffic. And given that it is positioned as it stands right now at the exit along a road, my concern is a driver pulling up, is kind of stopping there to block traffic to go in and get their order. So just kind of considering that you're making sure that you have a proper traffic flow to accommodate for the types of businesses that are there and will continue to be there.
Gotcha. Well, this is meant to be this, right? So,
Okay.
but it sounds like you're saying is also maybe have some reserved spots in some of these areas that are 10-minute parking.
I think something along those lines would be beneficial as you kind of keep building that out and considering that, because it is it is an issue up there currently of you know, and to nobody's fault. It's just the way that it is. They stop, they run in, order's not ready. Oh, I'll just keep my car there and block traffic.
That's a great point.
It's something that we want to make sure that we're accommodating to them so that it's efficient.
And a
Traffic.
project we did in Blacksburg that has retail, we got Chipotle, and they're on the end cap, and they wanted a 10-minute in for people to just come in and grab their stuff. And this is like 2017, 2018. And they were like, they wanted the sign to say fax, like something like, you know, a fax orders. And we were like, what? Fax orders? Who's faxing an order? So we got them to change it to just 10 or 15-minute parking, but absolutely, that's a great point.
But other than that, yeah, I mean, I think the green space is important and the traffic flow. Those would be my biggest things to see how we're going to alleviate that.
And I do want to just point out and just mention that I don't think we showed what's really there right here. You know, there's no intention here of removing the outdoor space. But we just noticed it later that, you know, we didn't really include it. So that's not going to be changed or something.
You want from 4 days. I mean, come on.
What's that?
It's only 4 days.
That's right. That's right.
If you had a
It was quick.
Joe, did you have another question?
Yeah, it's a question for both, for Emily, our zoning administrator, and for our presenters. Have you looked at, and correct me if I'm wrong, R3 zoning in that location? And do you know what the density is, Emily, in the R3?
We don't have R3 in our zoning.
Is it
Ordinance.
R2? Is it R?
We have
Like my
R1 and
neighborhood, it's
R2.
R2. Yeah,
So
okay.
R2 is 8 units per acre for townhouses.
8 units per acre.
That's what our
Well,
zoning
no,
zoning
but-
ordinance states.
But ours, where I live, is single family. So,
But you're still considered R2 and you're single family detached.
okay. Have
So
you looked-
that would be a different,
Okay, so yeah, that's where I'm going.
That's
And
what
I'm
you
wondering
want?
if you'd look at that perhaps and see what that looks like too.
Yeah, as I said, there is no, I mean, and I'm not trying to be argumentative, but
Nope.
we absolutely looked at like how many units you're going to need on this site
Mhm.
for it to be possible to develop it. And at the absolute minimum, it's about 50. So I think it'd be, you know, you're never getting 50 single family. You wouldn't get, I don't think you'd get 25 or 20.
Yeah, I wish I remembered what the total acreage was for the Haymarket Station where I am. I think we have 60 units plus we have a common area in the middle. And they were able to fit the R2, single family.
Right.
You know, some of it was shared driveways, not crazy about that idea or that concept, but
Well, we can certainly look at that. I mean, if,
I
you
would
know, it's not like
appreciate
we
it.
know every, development, so we can, you said yours is where?
Haymarket Station, across the
Market
street.
Station.
It's Track Court and Caboose Trail.
Okay.
You
So-
can see it on the map that you have.
Okay.
Yeah,
He's
I
good.
think your
Thank you.
density is
Two
like
small
four
disclaimers.
per acre.
Yeah.
The zoning ordinance has changed since your neighborhood came through.
Okay.
So things have changed. I'll give you this section, section 58-10.2, area regulations for the R2. And then if you go to B, small lot detached single family. Number 3, within any single family development, the maximum number of units permitted per gross acre shall be 4. Within any small lot detached single family dwelling development, the maximum number of units per gross acre shall be 6. So
Okay.
small lot, you could get 6
Okay.
per acre.
It is what it is.
Something to look into.
And of course, you recognize, and you guys got the experience, you know this is going to be public hearing for the downzoning, ZTA and all of that. So we'll have to consider public comment as well.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
And we're not taking this as a, you're approving it or disapproving it, just really just getting feedback to know what to draw next.
Yeah.
Really.
Super. All right. Good. Appreciate it.
Okay,
Ken had a question?
yeah, this is more or less to inspect your quality of work. Do we got a list of your properties down in Blacksburg that you developed? Does our town manager have that? So we can poke our nose down there?
Sure, sure. Well, are you talking about ones we've built?
Yes,
Yeah.
He's looking for
It's not
testimony.
difficult. We can easily give you that. We can pass that on.
because I'm an alumni of Virginia Tech.
Me too.
Over 30 years, 35 years ago, so it's been a while. My son just graduated, so it was a real culture shock to see how dense that place has gotten. So yeah, it kind of gives me an idea of what
the
your
area.
limits are, yeah, and what the town allowed you to do.
Right.
And-
Well, just remember, just as we did it there, doesn't mean here.
Right, well, I mean,
It's a
it's a matter of
different project.
negotiation,
Right.
right? And it's a matter of
But-
cost benefits.
Just to let you know, the project, since you know the area,
Mhm.
on the corner of Price's Fork and University,
Mhm.
where it used to be a Marriott when we were there. Remember the Marriott?
Yeah, now it's what's there?
And it was a
Hilton?
Holiday Inn. And that's when we bought it back in '07,
Yeah.
but we tore it down in '15.
Yeah,
And
you even
Bill-
moved the Hardee's down a little bit away, right? Or I guess you
No,
took
they
over the
weren't
Hardee's
there.
spot or,
Yeah, so we tore down the Holiday Inn and then put up the 2 hotels and retail.
Hmm.
So it was a lot more dense. It was like 7 acres with, if you remember, it was a 2-story, it was really an original courtyard of Marriott.
Yeah,
It was the
yeah.
shape of a courtyard. They had a restaurant and bar on the property, and then we tore that
Oh,
down
yeah.
and put 2 6-story hotels. and
two,
retail.
$2 happy hour pizza, all you can eat. Man, I remember those days. Those were great. We had hit the
Yeah.
Marriott every Friday.
Yeah,
All right, Alexander had a question?
I know we talked about possibly widening Blight Drive in order to try and mitigate most likely adverse traffic impact as a result of this proposed development, right? But other than that, what improvements are you planning in terms from a sidewalk, curb, gutter on Blight as well as Washington? Anything what are you considering? Anything at this point?
we're looking for feedback on it. We certainly, John, you're welcome to speak about it, but it's basically, what code is. I haven't gone through all the code, but, certainly welcome to speak to it.
Yeah, again, John Davis with Katie Oldru. I would say that we would work with staff and VDOT to make sure that we're meeting the requirements.
Okay.
The town has a streetscape program, which is pretty much a typical section that we would follow. But otherwise, we would work with VDOT and the staff and transportation
Okay.
to work that out. It could be a combination of curb and gutter, some edge of pavement. Some of that's going to be driven by aesthetics. Some will be driven by stormwater calculations, runoff, that sort of thing.
So Emily, other than what is required, what nice to have things that you can think of. I think you mentioned something about sidewalks all along Washington Street. And is that what you're thinking? Anything else?
Yeah, and
Washington Street, they have to meet the streetscape plan, which includes your trees, benches, trash receptacles, your brick sidewalk, which is now stamped concrete, light poles, banner arms, those things. That's the staple on Washington Street.
Bike lane,
Pardon?
bike lane.
Oh, bike lane. Yes, thank you. The bike lane in there as well. And then Blight Drive, you're just looking at your concrete sidewalk that meets the standards.
So like we'll have sidewalk on both sides basically, right? Or
We'll have to look at, the requirements of our zoning ordinance and then also what VDOT requires and kind of go through there. It's a further discussion that we would have to look into.
Okay.
All of that.
all right,
Alright.
thanks.
Are we good?
Can I
Good.
make like one last?
Yes, absolutely.
So I did want to highlight again, like on the number 2 perpendicular, I appreciate that a bit more, just simply like what Vice, or I apologize, Mayor, old habits die hard. The new townhomes that were built by my home, they face the roadway and they park on that roadway, even though there's like no parking signs on one side, but it gets really tight. So if people are concerned about Blight Drive and Washington Street traffic, like I would really encourage you to consider the perpendicular design as opposed to parallel and facing that street.
Okay, great.
And I do also want to emphasize the open green space. That's really, really important to our community. And not just aesthetics wise, just I think it helps with the small town feel, which is part of the allure of wanting to live here. So if you guys can please keep that in mind, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
It was a
we'd
pleasure.
really encourage, we'll leave our email addresses.
I've got
Any
business cards I'll leave.
future or comments that you think of, obviously after we know this is the first time you've seen it, but anything that comes up over the next month or so, please let us know.
I mean, as a reaction to these two?
Yes.
Okay.
Or any
Or
other
any-
thoughts.
any-
It doesn't
yeah.
have to be, except our projects we already built in Blacksburg. I do want to ask you one follow-up question.
Sure.
The ones that you said were parking on the road?
Yeah.
Are those facing the road and is the driveway from the road?
So they're facing the road. They have a garage and driveway on the opposite side inside their development.
Okay.
So they're choosing not to turn into their development.
Roberto?
Good evening. One of the major things I wanted to bring up is just that we have finally received our bank stock tax. As you guys can see that amount on page 2. Aside from that, the budget, everything is looking healthy. I don't know if there's any specific questions on this monthly report. Be happy to answer them.
My only question really was, have we done a recent evaluation on current market value for anticipation of any of the leases that may be coming up?
Yes, they're built in the leases are built in a 3% escalation, which they were added into the proposed budget.
Thank
With the exception of one property, because they increased their square footage, so I think when we work that budget, I might have to look at that number, but I think it'll be a little more.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Can I just make a point?
Yes.
Just for everyone's edification, and I'm sure you saw the emails, but and because it's financially related, just to let people know that the finance liaisons are now meeting prior to the work session meeting. And we did tonight at 5 o'clock because there was a 6 o'clock closed session. But typically we'll meet at 6 if there's no closed session. So we had a chance to kind of go through some of this stuff. And we're right at about 92% of the year. We only got about another month to go in our fiscal year. Right, Roberto?
Month in some delays, so about 2 months. We don't really start fully collecting. I don't complete collecting until like August. But on that note, though, I am currently working with the FY 2024 budget. I'm pretty much finished with the pre-audit information, so I will be meeting with the auditors this Thursday. So yeah, everything looks like it's going as it should be.
And And that finance meeting is meeting an hour before any closed or regular session once a month.
Once a month.
Okay.
We're trying it out.
All right.
See how it works.
Any other questions? Statements, concerns? All right, we will move on. So the second item is draft resolution 2025-006, a budget amendment to our current fiscal 25 budget. Roberta?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This budget amendment is due two things. Due to one is the reimbursement that we have received from Versa. As you all remember, there was 2 incidents where the PD vehicles had to be, and no fault to the officers, had to be repaired. Now that we have received the reimbursement, we went ahead and wanted to allocate that, so it's not going to show as an overage on his budget. The other amendment is taking some of the interest on the revenues received from the bank accounts to offset some of the costs, which mainly had to do with the forecast analysis that we just completed about a month ago. This falls under the 1%, so there is no need for a public hearing. That's the reason why we put it on this meeting today. And it was discussed with the finance liaisons earlier today as well.
Okay. Right. Any questions, statements,
Nope, we
concerns?
just adopted on Monday, I guess, or yea or nay? Okay.
Okay, perfect. All right, well then we're moving on to item number 3. Is IT updates. Roberto,
Oh.
you are the man of the moment.
So, I believe I've talked to council about the IT, about going into .gov, changing from .org to .gov, our website. Also trying to start moving forward on conversations on the website and also going to a more secure network. But I did want to get the directive because per the way things work, the process, I have to get the okay from council to go ahead and request for the state to make sure that we can get .gov. So it would be haymarket.gov, va.gov, and also just begin the process of going into a cloud type of network. Currently, right now, we do have some funds dedicated to town website. That's what I would plan to use on the current budget if I get the okay to get the town manager to go ahead and request that. So that's why I brought it up to the table. If that's something that council sees that we can begin to start moving forward towards. I know and as we get into the nitty gritties of going into an iCloud base, our IT personnel has stated that, there's going to be additional costs, but I do hope to look for him to give me a breakdown and maybe even present to council. I want him to present to council, kind of lay out what the expectations would be, what it would require. The one thing though is that I do want to see if we can come to an agreement if the council would want to move to a .gov versus a .org. The .gov just gives a little bit more security measures to the sites and to our stuff. But just wanted to put it out there to see if it's something that council is on board with, or their concerns, or is there anything specific that they want to talk about.
Do you have an estimate on cost?
So currently, right now, the estimate he told me it would be about between 1,000 and 1,500, and that would be basically if and when we do get this .gov set up, he will then have to convert the emails to make sure they forward for at least a year or two, to make sure that there's nothing missed while he's changing the back end. As far as the cost, I don't know. I'm not sure if we will need to repurchase anything with Outlook. I can get more details on that from him as of right now. But yeah, I can get more information on that too as well. I know we have funds in this budget, and I know we have some funds appropriated as well for the next budget too. So it's not a time sensitive thing, but just kind of wanted to start getting the ball rolling on it.
Okay, and it is more secure.
It is more secure. The thing I can tell you in talking to our IT department is that we will probably have to look at replacing some of some, or if not all of the units in the PD section, as some of those units are older. And I don't think Microsoft 10, they can handle Microsoft 11 is what he was stating. He does work with both of the departments. But those are things that I hope that he can give a presentation on once we, get the feel from council if this is something they wish to move forward with or begin to move forward with.
Ken, do you have a question?
Yeah, that's wholly owned hardware, so that's understandable. My question, do you plan, your architecture for the web presence, is it, you looking to subdomain it with virginia.gov, or are you looking for an independent?
Virginia.gov. It would be, yeah. So we're looking to do it that way. That's the
Okay.
reason why I would have to get the mayor or town manager to be the one to actually request it.
Mhm.
There's some information you'll have to fill in to request this information to, for them to move forward with it.
So instead of a domain lookup, you're saying that it'll be more secure. Are you looking for our traffic to go through Virginia and Virginia's going to scrub it?
Yeah, and it also what it would do to it, it would also require for us to meet certain security measures. Many other jurisdictions are doing this too. I know, we brought this to the table, not this council, but prior council. But they were really adamant they didn't want to change it at the time. But for security measures, I feel like it probably is better to do so. But yeah.
Yep. Included in your effort, if I could request, I gave you a business card from the VML, whatever you want to call it, retreat or whatever we had, convention with them down in October for CISA. CISA says they do a security audit free of charge. It's all free. If you could include that in this moving forward, I'd really appreciate that.
Understood.
Okay, so we're talking about 1,000 to 1,500. What line item was that you're talking about?
That would be under the CIP line item, town website.
Okay, so that'll be financed through the CIP. Okay. And so that's just the initial cost? Because there may be some additional costs due to the PD hardware?
Correct. And that is where I have already talked to our IT personnel that he would come in and do a presentation, kind of go through it. He's aware that we have to very educated people when it comes to this type of stuff up there. I even consulted our finance liaison to Alexander on some of his input and feedback as well when that time comes. But yes.
Right, so when we're talking about the PD, we're talking about the laptops, we're talking about
Yes, their hardware.
all of that stuff.
Their hardware.
Any kind of sense, chief, of how big that is?
As far as,
How many units we're talking about?
I would say 8. 8.
Now,
8.
do those laptops, do they have the system requirements in order to be able to install Windows 11? Do we know?
I do not know.
Okay, may want to look into that as opposed to just going out and buying new hardware, right? It'll be a lot cheaper to just upgrade the Windows version.
Okay.
Again, as long as the system requirements, hard drive size, RAM, memory and all that stuff is within what's, within the limits that's required.
Roger that.
And when we're talking about we're talking about Ralph, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So he'll come and he'll present to us.
Yeah, and Councilman Bennett, to your point, he's actually the one that kind of informed me about that when I told him what is that kind of a scope right now by looking at this last there was an issue with the PD's fax line, so I had talk about that. He's actually the one that informed me that most likely we'll have to upgrade those units. Obviously, I can get him to be more detailed on the requirements and why we would do so. He's offered when we talk, he's offered to come in and have that conversation with you guys.
And regardless,
that's
we're going to have to do something. I think Windows 10 is reaching end of support sometime in October or something like that, right? So we do have to take action, but the question is, does it require new hardware or can we just upgrade the software, right?
Right.
That's the
And
question.
unfortunately, I can't answer that, but I was just going by what he told me. I know on this side though, we pretty much have our units are running 11 already on the
Okay.
town hall side. It's just mainly PD. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I suspect that equipment back there is so old that it's all end of life. I have a feeling it'll all need to be replaced.
So you're looking for a directive in regards to establishing the presentation and supporting the transfer.
Correct. Because I do want him to do the work to actually get this stuff done, to spend the time to actually do the work, the reporting come in. So I definitely, it's going to expend some money. So I definitely want to be able to have the blessing from council for him to start, moving forward on getting this proposed and see what it would take.
Would it be reasonable to have something for the June work session?
I can ask him and I can get back to you on Monday,
Okay,
if that works.
all right. Is everybody in agreement with that?
Sure.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. 7 minutes. Let's see what we can do.
Yeah.
I can give you a few more minutes.
Okay. So the next item is our fiscal 26 budget work session. Roberto? Oh, wait. Oh, sorry. I checked it off. I'm so sorry. Policies and procedures. Kim?
Okay.
Thank you.
Starting on packet page 13 is the clean version of the rules of procedure. On packet page 31, I did do a line out since finance has now changed their meeting from Wednesday at 2. I stuck in there on a regular basis and will advertise the meeting date and time so that we can be a little bit more flexible. If this 1 hour before work session once a month doesn't work out, then we don't have to go back and change that time back to Wednesdays at 2. We'll just go with, on a regular basis. So that is the only real change that I've made in the last week on this. Packet page 39 is the red line version. I don't know if you all had a chance to look that over. So I'm looking for hopefully getting at least the rules of procedure adopted next week. I will have a resolution ready for you. So I'm here to take any comments or last edits for that.
Does anybody have anything?
Rules of procedure, no?
No, not on rules and procedure.
We all good on rules and procedure?
So nothing on rules and procedure, anything on code of ethics?
Okay, code of ethics starts on packet page 73. That is the clean version. There has been a couple requested edits to that. Also, I followed up with a couple other municipalities on their code of ethics that are attached in the back. If this code of ethics and standards of conduct is too lengthy or too
Verbose.
detailed, I might suggest you look at the town of Herndon's.
Yeah, I looked at that.
It is basically it's a one-page document. They do refer to their charter and their town code. So if you go and you look up code section 54.1 in the Herndon Town Code, it gives more detailed information on who can speak with the
I have a couple. of
day-to-day
thoughts.
operations, who can speak with on public comment with the press. So I know we haven't spent a whole lot of time on the code of ethics, so I'm willing to take comments on that.
All right. Joe?
I have a few comments on that. I like the idea of a one pager. I think it simplifies things, and what you're saying is it's incorporated by reference, a lot of the stuff in there. I have my own opinions about our current code of ethics and how it's been used as a cudgel in the past, but I'll go past that and just say that I think this town of Herndon, I think, makes a lot of sense, in my opinion. One of the things that I thought was important is that it references our mission, vision, and values. We take an oath to the Constitution, that's in there. FOIA and COIA, that's in there. The one thing I didn't see was Records Retention Act that we're all required and responsible for. So maybe we could make reference to that in there, perhaps. And the other thing is, well, it's the town council that adopts it, right? We set the tone for the entire town government as well as the boards and commissions. I don't see any reason why we shouldn't run it by the planning commission, and the ARB, and get some input from them, see what they think. I mean, when we first adopted the code of ethics back in, I think it was in 2014, we had a sit down with all of the boards, not the BZA, because the BZA is a different animal. And we got some interesting feedback on that.
Okay, Mary?
To your point about getting input from other town of Haymarket,
Boards and commissions.
yeah, thank you. Maybe that could be a role for our liaisons,
Bingo.
and they can bring back any feedback to our next meeting. Or when, I don't know if that's doable considering this meeting schedule, but next work session.
The planning commission meets on June 8th,
Okay, so it'd be next work session then.
and then ARB meets the following week, I believe, the 15th, I believe that's the date that they meet. June 10 and June 18.
Okay.
Makes sense if we're going to discuss it further at a work session. So would the liaisons be open to doing that for Planning Commission and ARB?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, okay. So possibility of splitting the policies and procedures and then code of ethics as agenda items?
Mhm.
Okay. Everybody on board with that?
Yep.
All right. Anything additional?
I don't think so.
No?
We covered everything.
All right.
So I'm sorry, I'm going to present what we currently have to Planning Commission and ARB and the Herndon one, or just the Herndon?
I think just the one that we have would be sufficient. And if they request any alternative options, we can send them to this agenda.
Okay,
And then we can take it from there in our discussion.
okay,
Okay?
okay,
So that's all clear?
thank you.
Perfect. All right, so before we go on to our next agenda item, which is the fiscal year 26 budget work session, I know that two of our council members have to step.
I do need to
Yeah.
step away.
Okay.
Yes.
Italian.
Great. Thank you very much, guys. I'm sorry. Did you? No, no, no.
I'm
Did
over
you?
here dying from a sinus infection. Would you like me to stay?
No, not at all.
Oh, sorry. Meeting and not feeling good.
Firing somebody.
Oh,
I gotta go take their meeting in Australia.
So-
The husky
You're-
voice
you're
is
like,
good,
I'm
though.
dismissing two people.
Well, at least it's 11 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, it's early there, but it's early there, late for me. But thank you.
Good luck.
All right, thank you. All right, so with that,
Oh, I mean, so sad.
Roberta, will you give us the intro to the work session for the budget? Please.
Okay. During the last meeting, the mayor had brought up to requested for a revision using the 0.908 rate when it comes to real estate. The memorandum kind of sets up what she stated, requested to see on scenarios for this work session. At that time as well, Councilman Billena also wanted to kind of see a breakdown and see the comparisons, what the real estate tax rate were by sticking to the current rate versus going to this 0.098. and it kind of showcases it there. The budget that I've included in here basically addresses all the suggestions that the mayor had requested for us to show what it would look like with the deductions. As stated in the memo, though, just to have a balanced budget and something you guys can look at. There was some excess revenues, even with this changes, of 39,347 was placed in the town hall museum security, just as a placeholder. Obviously, council, this is who decides where they want these funds to go, or broken out to. As you can see, though, when it comes to specific breakdowns to Councilman Brianna's request, I broke it down a little bit more, so you guys can see how the neighborhoods and streets are actually affected by these changes. I don't know if there's any specific questions when it comes to that. With this information, I'm ready to answer them.
Alexander?
So Roberto, when it comes to the increases and decreases that will result if we were to go down or reduce the rate, the increases do make sense for those that were homes that were completed in late 2024 and so forth, right? But for the older or existing properties, why in some communities is reduction in the rate is expected to result in an increase and a decrease in, based on where people live or the communities that they live in? Just curious. Does that make, for example, Villages of Haymarket, right, Blight Drive, it's a decrease of expected, I guess on average, a decrease of $4.53, right? That for Haymarket Station is an increase of $7.41. Is it based on how the assessments were
It is
basically?
all county assessments, so I know that in Haymarket Station, I know that some people are doing additional work, renovations to their house, it is, when it comes to them, I would have to ask the assessment, county assessment office, but it's all based off the assessment.
Just based on the assessment,
Yeah.
okay. For some it went up more than other properties, basically, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Based on our conversation before, the assessments are based on improvements as well, is what's being
Correct.
said. So
Yeah,
when a property that might be older is doing improvements, that value might be assessed differently.
Correct, yeah, because once they pull permits, they have to kind of give it a cost, the contractor will give it a cost, is what it would cost to do the work. They, during the permit process, they have to also give it an assessment on it. Once it's completed, the homes get reassessed, and that's all county-based.
Okay.
So basically, the homes, potentially the homes in the Green Hill Crossing, a subset of the homes had some sort of an improvement, right, or remodeling that is resulting in an increase, if you look at it on an average basis, as opposed to Villages of Haymarket, basically, right? That's the assumption.
Yeah, it just, I couldn't answer that because I don't work for the county assessment,
Okay.
but yeah.
But it's purely based on the assessment,
Yeah,
okay?
so
Correct,
assessment.
assessments,
and
yeah.
It would be based on if those places did upgrades in their facility. So your house could be one, and then you could upgrade your basement or your kitchen or something else to bring value to your home. So that's why it would kind of,
Upgrade, sale values.
yeah,
I mean, they take that all into consideration.
and then that's what makes it kind
Buying
of
a older home,
fluctuate.
You tear it down, you build
Build
a
it.
bigger, new build, it's all
And
gonna.
then just
Watch
that
out.
one will influence basically the numbers.
Location
that
is
Or the
they-
market in
location
that
is key.
neighborhood.
Yeah.
100%.
You know, they look at the last sales over the year and
Mhm.
the sale values was higher than what they appraised, so they tack an increased appraisal on it.
Yeah, and I
Like granite tops and all this stuff.
but also locations. I mean, a house that's right off the main street, the access points will probably have a higher value. A corner house is always more expensive than a middle home, a townhome. I mean, it can be different variables, but Those are the numbers though, at the end that was requested. So I'm presenting them, and any questions on them?
Thank you for putting in key considerations.
Yeah.
Did anybody else have anything?
I do have one question or one kind of thing. The weekly trash and recycling maintenance. I know you have the built-in at 4% to increase, and it's depending on tipping fees and stuff like that. Could we set up a reserve or something if that does go up or does, I don't think we have anything in place, it does fluctuate, say, because we're paid till April, but 6 months from now, if they decide they want a tipping fee of X amount of dollars, you know what I mean? To kind of
So-
offset or have a reserve?
So I hear what you're saying, and yes, but essentially too, that's another reason why I'm still recommending a 0.105 rate versus this reduction, because it's the 10 years down the road that we have to like think about. Because if you see this report for this year and next year, it looks great. I mean, some people are not going to pay anything for the increase that we're going to do at 4%. They're actually saving money, but again, it's about 10 years down the road. As we kind of saw in the presentation, people do want to be here. They do want to be here for a reason. But could we set up a reserve? Yes. I mean, one of the things I've talked about with finance, and I think I briefly mentioned it, was having a discussion of some of these town funds. I do want to allocate separately, similar to what we have with ARPA, and just direct it completely to a CIP account. Obviously, with this surplus coming every year, make it a dedicated like percentage that we're going to put into that to keep replenishing it. Obviously, with the scenarios of the benchmark and the forecasting, we have seen that, the forecasters did state that within the next 5 years, you're seeing between a 3% increase on real estate. We've seen the county supervisor come in and say how they're seeing a plateau when it comes to real estate eventually. So yeah, there's many scenarios we can do so. For me though, residents, they're paying their share when it comes to the trash service. Because again,
Yeah,
the town provides it, it's not the county.
for sure.
That's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
Same thing with the PD. But we could set up something like that if that's something you guys wish to do, and I'm more than happy to do so. But what do we set for? But the real estate is essentially meant to
Yeah.
help offset some of the cost.
Okay. Just, I don't know. Kind of trying to think, but I don't know, we'll have to come up with something or see. But no, I trust your forecasting and where it's gonna go. I was just looking in case they do, trying to replenish that or trying to keep it, just keep in front of it if they do add those fees and everything else.
So one of the things is that it is when it comes to the trash service, we definitely know that a 4% will be for the next 5 years, every year. As far as the tipping fee, that's at the county level. I try to stay up on top of it on what the county's doing. They're a little ahead of the curve because they got a whole department that works in their budget. But I'm able to, see where they're going with it. I know that the county administrator Shorter has made it a point to know that they will be changing this next fiscal year. I don't know what that will look like. I don't think they've really given a percentage what they're looking to increase it by. But if the town wants to set money aside, a specific amount just for the trash service in case, that's something we can look into as well.
I didn't see it on like any line items or anything like that. I just wanted to, bring it up and just in case, just to have it as like instead of like kicking the can down the road, just have something, or hey, let's put that in people's mind because we talk about all these projects and stuff like that. We're going to get those completed. But then on the back end, if that trash comes in, then we get a tipping fee on top of that. I just want to make sure like everything's covered. But thank you. You do.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Okay, so to your question, my question for Roberto is, the tipping fee, do we know what the tipping fee was before they,
Yeah.
what that translated to in the aggregate.
Then they added in, and wasn't it like $40
A ton or
a
something or
ton?
whatever.
And
And we
I
were trying
wanna
to,
say, did Republic eat the cost on their last contract?
it might have been, but
I
I,
know the meeting
Yes.
was shorter on Friday, and I can inquire what they're thinking or proposing, but they probably won't have a
Alright.
concrete number.
well, where are they in their development of their next fiscal year budget? Do they have a tipping fee in there or not? Because if they don't have a tipping fee in there, we'll be okay for this next fiscal year. Then it would be a consideration for the next fiscal year following. So that's an important question, and I don't think they have it in their budget, right?
I'll ask him, I'll clarify on Friday, we have our town manager meeting with him. For 26, there's no tipping fee included to our knowledge.
So for this,
For 27, he all but said.
it might
expect
return,
To have a tipping fee.
right?
Because they're changing, the landfills are going to be open 7 days a week, and they're making some pretty big changes there. And
Okay.
we were kind of talking, there's no way they could not.
Right,
probably have a tipping
do
fee.
that. So for at least the next fiscal year, starting July 1st through June 30th, 2026, there's no tipping fee. That would impact this proposed budget.
Gotcha.
Okay, the following year,
Yeah, that was-
following year
okay,
would-
Yeah.
following-
yeah, then we,
okay, that's-
and perhaps, you know, maybe the place to fund that would be within the same line item and do a higher projection, so to speak, for the tipping fee. If we don't know what it's going to be, you can project it perhaps based on previous costs or whatever. I'm not sure what they're going to come up with. But I would think you could increase that line item, not just for the contract amount, right? But you'd have an additional amount for the tipping fee as well. I don't know.
I don't.
Yeah. So the question is though, when it comes to the tipping fee, that is charged through the vendor, right? So it's not just. the
How's our contract? Is it
Yeah,
pass
that's
through?
where I was gonna go.
Yeah.
Their contract reads that 4% and any additional cost is what they would have to inform us.
So it's a
think
usage pass through.
So, yeah, I was just trying to keep that.
No, that's a
honestly,
good question.
Because I know we're good for here, but for next year,
Right.
I guess so.
No, that's a very good question. The other thing is we might want to consider down the road, and I know this creates more work, but maybe we look at our cycle. Maybe we don't need to do the 2 days. Maybe we go to a 1 day to try to cut some costs. Or maybe we do another RFP. I'm just throwing it out there as some options and ideas, not to we're not tied to a 5-year contract necessarily. There are outs on that contract. Is that correct? I would think so. Yeah. I mean, I think you could, if you wanted to, there may be some space. Would it work? I don't know. You know, we don't know what the competition is going to be like and what have you, but there are other alternatives too
Yeah.
here to try to reduce costs
Yeah,
on the expense side.
yeah.
So,
And it's more just of a kind of looking out for the future of what it's going to be, because I know there's going to be something, but what's it going to be? So just try to keep.
Right.
I was just trying to be ahead of it, or just
Yeah,
put it in
that's-
people's mind for next year.
And we did do a survey on the
Yeah.
1 and 2 days.
We did.
This last go round before all of that.
we did.
So there's that. And
And the survey results were
Two.
Can you explain what what that might look like with the trust service specifically if we were to have more residential buildings?
So they were here presenting. If they added 62 units, which was the max, I think they said, right?
Mhm.
62.
52 to
58 and
58 to
62.
62.
I would say, I will go with the 62. At the current rate, it'll push us up to $239,000 for the year, comes to trash service,
Just for that.
just for that, at the current rate, which is, the current rate will start in July 1st.
The tax would offset some of that.
Hmm.
Their real estate tax for their condos would offset a portion of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it would, it would go on from there, 238, say if we use the new rate that will be coming in, 238 and then plus 4% every year.
Okay.
So
Before any additional cost.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Ro-
Alexander?
Roberto, can you remind me on average, how much are we paying for trash and recycling for each residential, for each property
$29.12
per month?
Per unit per month. So it is 29 times, what was it, 621, I think I told you, not 601 units.
The 29, okay.
Yeah.
330 a year.
Roughly.
Yes, 334, 330, something like that, yeah.
So the real estate tax should cover above and beyond that, right? Normally it does.
Yeah.
Normally it's in excess of $330, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But then we don't know how 27 is gonna go.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
if I may ask, what are the next steps on the budget proposal?
So if council, if this is the budget you guys want to go with, and this is the rate you guys want to go with, I'm hoping council, it's set up that council would vote on Monday for the real estate rate and as well as the budget for adoption that same night.
For the real estate rate and budget.
Right. If there's any changes, we have from here to then, from here to next Monday to have those discussions, and we need to have a special meeting, or if the consensus is to go with this proposed budget, we'll move forward.
Okay. We will include the two council persons that have had to leave to ensure that, and then we'll put that on the agenda then for Monday,
And that's June 2nd.
June 2nd.
I still feel like it's going to be May, but it's not.
Yeah, no, June 2nd.
Just
All
one
right.
comment.
And that meets your deadline.
Just one comment. I would like if anybody has, I feel like we've been doing budget meetings and trying to move things forward, but if we have anything like, when it comes to that meeting, that we have something finalized and done. I'm just making a comment.
In other
No more
words,
kicking
no
the can.
surprises.
No,
I mean, this is it, right? I mean, unless
Right.
there are
Somebody
changes.
can always
Yeah.
propose
Proposed.
something else, like there can
That's
be a
right.
motion for anything, so.
I promise I won't.
All right, anything else, Alexander? You're good? And Justin, you're good? All right, Ken?
I'm good.
All right, and Joe?
2 thumbs up.
Wonderful, thank you. All right, so that's gonna leave us to our added agenda item of the town hall site plan. Emily?
Okay, I passed out during our little recess a site plan sheet for everybody. I wanted to take a few moments this evening to familiarize everybody with what I mean when I'm saying town hall site plan and talk through a couple of the different documents. And then ultimately, after our discussion, I would like for council to give me a directive to move forward on a couple items. So the document you have in front of you is phase 1 of the town hall site plan. I have shaded it in color to help you better visualize what you're looking at. So the green space, of course, is green open space. This is grassed or landscaped area. The red area is sidewalks and concrete paths. Not all of the paths on site will be the brick red, but I just did this for ease of visualization. The darker black color is your Washington Street and Jefferson Street. And then you'll see a small portion on the right-hand side, which is the shared use path. And then the shading didn't show up very well, but there's a light shaded gray, and that is the newly designed parking lot. So what I want to call your attention to is this site plan is just the site work. This is your pavement, this is your impervious surfaces, this is your stormwater. We're looking at a reconfiguration of our parking lot It allows for two-way traffic all the way around our parking lot. It is utilizing the same entry exit point off of Washington Street. And then it removes one point of entry exit near the Cupcake Heaven building, and it condenses it into a formalized parking lot, a small parking lot off the side of the police department exit. And then on our back property line, you will have the entry exit point there as well. In the rear of the building, you have an expanded green space. Keep in mind, this is phase 1. So in this green space, phase 2 would be this 2-story building addition that would house the stairs and an elevator up to the 2nd floor. So that's why this back area is so large. You have some parking there that would, again, stay in place for the elevator and would have the appropriate handicap parking spaces already designated out. For the side small lot that you have there against the police department, I want to specifically note this is not a private parking lot for the police department. This is a shared parking lot for the entirety of our complex. It does house the handicap parking space for the Cupcake Heaven building. An appropriate ramp would be built to access the Cupcake Heaven building from the parking lot, providing it the appropriate ADA accessibility. In the front here, you have our parking lot reconfigured, so it takes away the parking that's right there along the entry exit point, and it consolidates it all in front of Town Hall, and then it modifies how our green space is laid out. And then over here along the Washington Street Realty building, again, it removes the parking right up against the building. It removes the travel lane that's on the far side of the building that is very rarely used, and it puts green space up and around the building. Again, all of this will be landscaped, but that plan sheet was a bit more complex to show. With this, it also will add in your turn lane. So as you look at it, and I'm sorry if the shading makes it difficult to see, but as you look at it, you would have a left and a straight lane, and then you would have a right only turn lane. The right only turn lane is a right only onto Washington Street. So this does help alleviate some traffic. Certainly, it's not going to alleviate all of it. The conflict you have is when the light is green on both sides and people want to make a left. But hopefully, if we were able to get people making a right out of the way, we'd have some alleviation. So again, this is just the site work. This does not include any building work. What I would like on this document is I would like a directive from council to proceed with hiring someone to give me updated cost estimates for the site work. So I signed this document into approval status on August 10th of 2023. And on that signature date, that started our timeline of when we need to get it constructed within 5 years. So we were talking at our finance meeting just ahead of this one this evening about getting updated costs. And we do have budgeted monies for the town hall master plan. I would pull from that budgeted money already and hire someone to give us updated costs on that. The second leg of the discussion, I'm gonna open up plans. I can bring them up there or I can set them up on the table here, but I'll talk through them. Ultimately, I would like for each of you to take a moment to come look at them. But it's going to be the plans for this building, and I want to speak to what that does, and then the second directive I'm going to ask for. So give me just a second to get those out. I don't have these easily electronic, otherwise I would have put just small ones. Are you guys okay if I set it here?
Yeah.
I'm gonna set it right here if you just wanna flatten that. You're good, you're good.
Stuff out of the way. Hey, kid. Walk in and talk. Walk.
This meeting now.
Give me a second. It takes me a minute to read them.
No, you're fine.
Nah. Let's see how it's nice. It's probably the ones that are flat. It's not. Okay. Do you guys want to gather around for me? Okay, so what we're looking at here is the town hall building. What we started talking about during our finance meeting is that we have a certain investments already been completed in getting architectural plans done for the building, exterior and interior. The grayed out portion in this page you're seeing was supposed to be a different phase, but just follow along best you can. This is the police department here. This is already built out. This part of the phased plan was done. However, it was not completely built out to have this main lobby that services both the town hall and the police department. Their private bathroom was not built out at the time, which included a shower in the case of an emergency that one of the officers needed to shower while on duty. And it did not include the build out of the new public restrooms. So what I want to do is I want to re-engage this architect with the directive from council to look back at this plan, update what we are seeing here, ensure that everything still works, restart the conversations, and proceed forward with getting an approved building plan document. What that would be is that would be the second story building addition in the rear, right here, which includes your elevator, an updated sprinkler, mechanical, electrical room here on the side of it, a new lobby entry point from the rear of the building where I just showed you guys that big open grassy space. If I can, I'm sorry, borrow. Yeah. Okay, so this is your building set here. So right here, and I'll flip to that page in a minute, but right here is where that elevator would go. And this is the sidewalk here that services those two handicap spots right into the elevator portion. So you would have entry exit point. Your main lobby would go all the way through. This is your front of your building here. Our entry point that you walk in today over here would go away, gets combined into one. We have a unified lobby. Then the inside of town hall gets a little bit of a redesign. So on your front wall here where you have your front door, you close that front door in, and then you have 5 offices across the front of the building. You have an administrative office, which takes the place of our current kitchen conference room, and it puts in a service window into your main lobby here. You have this hallway remains about in the same location. That access point puts you into the lobby. For town hall staff, that would be our main entry exit point that we use every day. That would be a secured point and people would be buzzed in. And this would be the restrooms that town hall staff would be utilizing. Right in here, so visualize with me kind of where the column is, you would have a new hallway. That's this hallway here. You have the offices on that side, and then you would have these offices right here. So kind of imagine where the water cooler is about and do a wall right there, okay? So that's going to be plan review office with file storage and 2 desks for the planner and the engineer when engineer's here, a new conference room or administrative workspace, a small kitchenette, and then an additional office. As I was telling finance today, finance liaisons, I do believe that this office would need to be utilized as a print copy and supply room, but that does not take away from what we have here. We have plenty of office space that we can have, you know, Matt and our planner in here together. We can utilize it all. Council chambers. So what you'll notice on council chambers is it gets rid of all these closets on either side. So you're going to gain width in this room. So when you get rid of all these closets and you gain width this way, you still have a raised dais up here, and then you have this lower section. And what it is showing is that this is, I didn't count it exactly, but it is 42 seats here and then additional seating against what would be the back wall. And then you would have a door here so you can completely close off council chambers. So closed sessions, if you don't have public in there, we would leave the room and you could have closed sessions in there, but you can also have kind of a layer of a security point here. You could hold closed sessions in this administrative room. You would just go through from council chambers into the conference room. The council chambers, what I was telling our finance liaisons is, of course, you have this desk here. This would probably get rebuilt, redesigned. In most places, you have your administrative team, your clerk, and usually like your town manager would sit up here with you. That's what this desk here is proposing. Some jurisdictions have it so your town manager sits on the dais with you. Not necessary. You can keep the town attorney up here with you. But we would kind of reconfigure this part and just make sure that we had desk over here. Probably take out this first row of seating and just have the appropriate desk space for town staff. Your podium would be right here in the center. That's pretty standard of other jurisdictions, is have you centered right on. So, your back door, I do believe this remains here with that point. I'm sorry, the point of exit's here. This is where your new back door goes. This becomes a window here. So we can continue discussions on this. Roberto can pull the numbers back up, but when we looked at it in the finance meeting, between this plan and this plan here for the site work and the police department improvements that were already done, we've spent about $800,000 already. I think that's about about $800,000 already on this investment. And so I really would like for us to continue to utilize the work we've done and just finish it out the right way. I wanted to take a moment to show you guys the exterior.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
Can we get a breakdown of that by year of work and the amount?
Sure.
For that 800,000, Roberto,
We can do that.
investment?
I'll work on that with them. So for those of you who are not as familiar with the property, so when they did this plan, they had proposed exterior modifications as well. So we have to do some exterior modifications due to the second story addition being put on the back to accommodate the elevator. And so they went ahead and designed out the front. When a previous council was in place 6 years ago, they took on a portion of the project to show some improvements being done to the town hall property, to show the community we're moving on some things. So we put in the metal, excuse me, we put in the metal roof. And at the time that the metal roof went in, they added the dormer to that side of the building. That did not exist. And then they chose to paint the entirety of the front and the whole building white. When we did that improvement, we changed over the siding on the side, the back, and the police side of the, I'm sorry, that's all brick, the back and the west side of the building to have cement board siding, hardy board. So those changes have been made. When we re-engage an architect, we can certainly have conversations with the ARB if this is continued, the look that you guys are wanting and desiring for the building. But as much as possible, I think it would be important to still utilize the investment we've already made and not really go above and beyond. Reinvent the wheel. Thank you.
This is where the mayor is going to be addressing.
Oh yes, I said I'm not sure we need our papal speaking spot, but I will say, let me just lay this one out in this section just to show you in relation where phase 2 goes. I'll show you that right now, Justin. I'm gonna pop over here. Okay, so let me show you phase one. So this is the picture I colored in for you. This is the front of the building. You have your entry point right here. That's that shared vestibule. And then right now, this is just that big open space in the back. That's what it would get redesigned, but you already have your sidewalks in place. Phase two, you're still looking at the same upfront improvements. What this adds is this footprint right here is that second story addition of that elevator. And then the AC units get moved over, but you still have that access point of the concrete to get you in the door. Stop. Everybody?
So can we talk about the turn lane?
Yes, certainly.
Adding as part of this. So one potential problem is right now, right? People, I don't know what, north, southbound coming into town when making a left turn onto Washington, right? The only opportunity they get in order to turn a left turn is when someone going that direction is also making a left turn, right? And now if you have a dedicated lane making a right turn, then less of an opportunity for a person to make a left turn, which means that traffic is going to get back.
So that
reevaluation.
should force VDOT to do a light evaluation.
Yeah.
So we have asked many times, Chief, please back me up. We've asked them many times to retime this light. We've asked them to stagger it. We've asked them to allow northbound traffic to have so many seconds to make all these left turns, then let them both go, and then let southbound finish with a designated time. They won't do it. So
This work will trigger it though, but the thing is, it's still a cost on, we got to burden the cost, right?
of retiming, not of
It's the,
retiming.
evaluation of it, I think it's like a $300 or $300,000.
No,
Because
so
they sit down for a week with a head count going.
I don't think so. Because every time, I mean, we just asked them to retime this light and evaluate it, and they did not send us a $300,000.
Yeah,
bill.
because they didn't do a traffic study. I'm assuming
Right.
they want to do a traffic study
So-
on this one.
I mean, VDOT's already approved the plan.
That's good.
They already approved it. So what I want to show you though is phase one on your turn lane has right-hand turn only, and it has straight and left. Phase two, and this is something I need to clarify with VDOT, but phase two moves it. Because I think phase two here is assuming you're gonna have a straight and a right, and over here, phase two, again, this is something you need to clarify with VDOT, is that you would have the matching over on this side. So you'd have a straight and a right and a left, and I don't know that that's ever gonna happen.
So phase two assumes that the south side of
Has the
had
improvements
the
done.
improvements.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But that's something, again, it's not shown on the plan as such. So I need to go back and I need to read through these notes on why phase two is changing. Mm-hmm.
It's got to be the improvements, southbound improvements.
Yeah. Let's make it.
So I mean, this says right here, prior to the implementation of the Jefferson Street lane markings shown on this sheet A, traffic signal modification plan shall be prepared and approved by VDOT, including an elevation of any necessary receiving alignment changes across Washington Street. So that's what it is. You would have to go back in for lane marking approval. And it's assuming here that you would have receiving alignment.
Yeah.
So, and that's phase two, right? So this part of phase two does not have to mean we can't do this elevator portion. That can be a
That's a separate,
standalone, separate discussion.
So the two phases are exterior? No. So that's part of
So
phase two
phase-
to do the elevator and the interior work. So phase one is just exterior, phase two.
So one of the
Interior.
discussions that I would want to have and put in writing for you is phase one, ready to go, is site work right here with the improved parking lot, the improved green space, the improved entry exit points, the small parking lot, better flow around the site, and then it prepares the large green space. So that's phase one, site work.
The
Can we
next,
hold right there?
yes,
Just one
yeah.
question, just because we stay on. When you removed, did we lose any parking spots
No,
right here?
we gain parking.
Okay.
It's better layout. So because we're able to remove those here,
In front of
we
the-
realign and accept all those in this spot. When we get rid of all these diagonals over
Yeah.
here, we realign and accept more. You make this formal parking here, and then you make this formal parking. You're adding, I think it was 3 to 4 spaces. It's not a huge amount,
No,
but you
yeah.
are adding some.
Couple of observations.
Yes.
First major observation is what you do during the construction, both outside and inside. I know we've talked about this.
Hold on, can we pause? Can I go back to the phases real quick?
Yep. Okay.
Okay, so this would be phase 1 of just doing site work. Then ideally, we're then ready to talk about a phase 2, which is your building. You're focusing on the investment of doing the building improvements and putting the elevator in, at which point of that phase 2, you're then here. So phase 1 is just site.
Yes.
And then
Just
I
the
would say
outside.
phase 2 is your
Yeah.
building, and then you do the small site work
Yeah.
due to that.
Does phase 1 include the turn lane?
Yes, so
Okay.
phase 1 right here includes the construction of the turn lane right only and a full sidewalk along that side of the property. So now, I think now we're at your,
Okay, so the challenge is going to be for you, and the additional cost is while you're doing this work, where are people going to park?
Mhm.
And then in the interior is the swing space for work while things are getting done. So that's just
yeah,
something to think about going forward.
absolutely.
You have a basement, I have a basement.
Yeah. I mean, teleworking, things of that nature,
We have our
maybe the
museum.
museum, whatever. But that's something that's going to be an added cost, I think. The other thing is, when we were talking about this facility as a comfort station,
Mhm.
which I think is coming to fruition, if I read it properly.
Still working on it.
Okay, so the question I have about the elevators, the elevator itself is, would it be sized to accommodate the elevator as well? Or do we have to future-proof that generator system to include the elevator? That's just a thought.
I don't know that we would per se
I'm
want
just saying,
to, but I mean, a thought.
But if the upstairs mostly is going to be rented space, what?
Well, if we're using this as a comfort station, right? We don't, if things got bad, and you had a lot of people, I don't know how ambulatory some people might be. We may not have enough room down here. We might want to utilize some of the space upstairs. I don't know. It's just something I'm throwing out there.
And we could talk about the way I understood that comfort station to operate is more your quick come in, charge batteries, charge phones, be in the air conditioning or be in the heat versus a spend the night, we're coming in with FEMA and setting up cots. Because at that point, if you're at that level of a natural disaster,
You're not.
they're
going-
using
you're
the
not gonna be
schools.
used. Yeah.
Ideally, we're all safe and that doesn't happen, but that's when they would start activating
Could be a power outage.
the
I was
bigger
just gonna say,
places.
yeah.
Yeah.
Long-term power outage that, and we have
Right.
elderly folks that need a place to go to and to come to. And
Right.
just a thought, the elevator can help, and I don't know if it'll be sized for that. The last point I want to make is the conference room
Uh-huh.
behind public space. I would suggest we look at soundproofing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So,
Okay.
um, just so you guys for reference, this is your downstairs, this is us. This is what your upstairs generally looks like. So you would have your 2-story addition, you have your full stairwell, you have your elevator, you have an electrical room, small lobby gets added in there. This is all existing. There's some walls that aren't shown on here, but this is existing. This, again, you have 3 offices here in a hallway that the walls are not shown, but this is a rather large open space. And same thing over here, you have a couple divisions of office space, but otherwise, main hallway is as existing, restrooms are existing, and this restroom's actually existing. They would just get modified.
There's a bathroom. Like a.
I'm like,
I
name the
didn't know that.
I will have to ask Hetzel if it includes the steps reconfigurations.
With the elevator, are there different sizes or is it just one size? Or is it?
I wasn't party to those conversations. I kind of came in later on this, and at the time, shortly after I came, they put this on hold
Okay.
until now.
We can go, 'cause I-
Basically, so I would have
Little
to.
small, little.
Yeah, no, I would have to ask. Based on this, I mean, yeah, I mean, it looks rather large. I could pull up the exact measurements. It's in the plan. Yeah, but I mean, it would be a pretty standard.
Wheelchair and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. It would definitely be accommodating for that. I do know, and as I've mentioned it before, I just want to remind you guys, we have people who are interested in this space. It's the accessibility. We have a tenant who, I don't want to speak for them, right now. I'd have to re-engage them in the conversation, but they're ready to rent the whole upstairs if we have the accessibility. So it's a desirable space. We just aren't able to get people in there because of accessibility.
That's gonna be a return on investment.
Yes.
So what do we need to do to move forward?
So I'll sit back down, I'll let you know, keep this all in mind, because this is gonna be part of one of our next discussions with Chief in just a few minutes, okay? So I'm just gonna kind of fold it in case he wants to reference anything here. While I'm folding this, so what I would like is, I would like a directive to hire a consultant to do the updated cost analysis and estimates for the town hall site work, phase 1. And then I would also like a secondary directive to re-engage with the architect who worked on our building plans and start that conversation of where's the plan at? What investment are we looking at to get this plan to a finished product that we can put out for a bid and take down to, well, have a contractor take down and have it ready with the county. So get a full scope from that architect and then do any modifications that we might need to. It's been a couple years on the shelf, so there will probably be building code modifications that we need to do anyway. So it could be a pretty hefty expense, but I need the directive to start the conversation with them.
Emily, in terms of the estimated cost from 2023 for the site plan was around 600K.
That's correct.
Okay, which seems on the low end based on what I saw. But if we assume 3% inflation, we're possibly about 636, right? But of course, the consultant or whoever that you're going to have review this will give us a better idea, right?
Yes, and
Okay.
I do have, we do have monies budgeted for the town hall master plan, so I would use out of that line item to hire the consultant to do our updated pricing list. And then I would start utilizing that funding for the re-engagement of the architect. So there is funding available.
Okay, and also, Emily, if you don't mind, can you share the dates in terms of when you signed off and all that, so everyone
The-
else is aware?
Yes,
Yes,
I believe I mentioned it briefly at the very beginning, but the site plan that I signed off on, it was August 10th of 2023. So our goal would be to get this fully funded and constructed within 5 years.
Any questions, Jeff?
Yeah, all right, so the funding line item you're talking about is under the current budget capital improvement funds expense, 94-108-04. Is that the one we're talking about?
94 what?
Let me verify with our treasurer
Okay.
that's
94-108-04. It's in our packet. Just want to be sure that's what we're talking about.
verifying.
Or is it another one?
It's only 53,000.
Where?
53,000.
That's the one I'm looking at, but
Can you tell?
no, but to start,
Just
to
for
draw,
the-
Start.
just
yeah,
to-
to get it.
which one?
94,106,01.
9410, oh, okay, architectural
94.
and engineering fees. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that clarification.
Okay.
And so,
For the.
and that's at the packet page 5.
Okay.
So the concept you're talking about, Emily, is you want to get a hold of our on-call consultant? Is that what you're thinking?
For our engineering, she's recommended somebody who can give us a better cost estimate. So she
Okay.
has told us that there's a better party to do.
All right, so we need a little funding so you can re-engage, and then we're going to get an estimate, and then we'll come back and talk about what the numbers look like.
So my
Okay.
goal would be to bring back to council the numbers for the town hall site work plan, and that would be updated in today's dollars. And then we would also put into that estimate what we would expect inflation as necessary. And then I would come back to you with a report on what myself and the architect are able to come up with. And as necessary, if we need to engage council in a work session to work on some
All right,
items.
so you have the engineering and then the architect,
Mhm.
the previous architect, where you're looking to re-engage with him, update it, and then see what those costs are.
That's correct.
Okay. And we have the funding.
Alexander?
Yeah. I mean, I would hate to lose the 800,000 or so investment that we had made, right? But when it comes to CIP priorities, right, this will not be in alignment with the priorities that we had established. I think we had established where our first priority was the park, then followed by public parking, and this was our third item, right? I just wanted to recognize that and, just give it some thoughts, basically.
It was in our top 3.
It was the third on the list, right? But this $800,000, and again, it's, yeah, I would hate to,
And
no, yeah, go ahead.
I totally understand that. I think these are, I don't want to say they're shelf ready because they're not 100% shelf ready, right? One of them is, I would say 90% shelf ready. You have an approved plan. So the next step on the approved plan is we need to update a cost so we know what we're getting ourselves into. And then we need to put that out to an RFP so that you can have contractors bid on it and we move forward. So that one is, it is right there. It is ready to go. This has been a project we've been working on for over 8 years. I mean, easily you guys have been working on this probably 15 years. So we, like you said, have a big investment on it. These are ready to go. We are able to make improvements. I think we can still, I mean, we are still working on the park property and, we need direction from council on this parking. If this is something that needs to take a top priority and halt the other projects, staff needs to know that directive. We need to hear it loud and clear and start moving on those. I have not heard from council that that is the top desire to stop other projects and make that a main focus. I mean, that's a big discussion of land acquisition and, starting from scratch on planning.
And I hear a lot about the turn lane. And
Right.
this would push that. So if that is a major concern and focus, this would be the step to take.
At least the site
Yeah.
plan, right?
Yeah.
At least the site work, certainly. And, re-engaging the architect, getting that to be that 90% shelf ready and, we can move on the building at a later date, that's fine, if that's the desire of council. But if we're able to figure out what everything's going to cost and we have the monies budgeted to do so, then let's figure out, where our investment can lie.
Yeah, and I think the priority that we were kind of putting in with the parking was a feasibility study.
Right.
So that's the low cost. That's not a true acquisition of property and everything else. So it's something that may be able to be fit in as well, but definitely would have to, I think, realign our priorities.
Being just a feasibility study, that wasn't, maybe, I don't know, but
Well, perhaps we need to revisit that then.
Are we
We-
all in alignment with the proposed
Directed-
As far as
directives?
this,
Yes,
yeah, as
yes,
far
Yes?
yes.
Okay,
Okay.
so are you
So,
clear
yes,
with what
I'm-
we're?
I am.
Yeah, okay,
If there's no objection,
No objection.
all in favor?
say aye, yes.
Okay, so I'll proceed with those two directives. I will add on our June work session I think this would be good practice for us anyway. I'm gonna add a strategic plan discussion.
Good.
I think it would be good for us at the end of each fiscal year to touch base on what we've accomplished. And in that discussion, we can revisit those priorities and visualize them in that strategic plan and kind of ranking where they fall.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say, I'm not saying that we need to stick to those priority, but I'm just pointing those,
No,
what we
no.
had established, right?
Certainly.
Yes.
Well, also further understanding of what exactly it is that we're working towards. Okay. Joe, do you
Job,
have
man.
anything?
No,
Okay.
we'll move on.
Okay. Ken, are you okay?
I'm fine.
All right. Justin?
I'm good.
All right. Alexander?
I'm good,
Awesome.
I'm good.
All right. So we need to go into another closed session.
Yes, and this one we will keep brief and there's no public in the room, so we can stay here if that works for council.
I need somebody to read
Make, you want to read
the
it?
motion on
I
106
did the
for me,
first one. You
please.
do this one.
Want to have Justin, you want to do it?
Yeah, 106.
You do it, Justin.
Okay. Here we go. I move that the Haymarket Town Council go into closed session pursuant to Virginia Code 2.2-37 or 3711 A19, a matter involving discussing of plans to protect public safety as it relates to terrorist activities or specific cyber security threats or vulnerabilities, and briefing by staff members, legal counsel, or law enforcement services officials concerning actions taken to respond to such matters or related to threat to public safety, discussing of information subject to the exclusion of subdivision 2 or 14 of 2.2 3705.2. I hope I said that right. Where decision is an open meeting would jeopardize the safety of any persons or security of any facility, building, structure, information, technology, systems, or software programs in discussing of report or plans related to the security of any government facility, building, or structure, or the safety of persons using such facilities, building, or structure.
Second.
All right. All in favor?